It's Riff Arcade. I'm Butts, and this is Let's Playto, the show that looks into the social, historical, and philosophical themes of your favorite games. I want to say right up front that I'm probably not good at games, and I don't have a degree in philosophy, but I hope this video will inspire you to look into these topics and games for yourself. We try to stay neutral to certain topics at Riff Arcade, and while I will do my best to maintain that, some personal opinions might slip through. Please enjoy, and be aware, spoilers incoming. Today, we try to link the fire with From Software's Dark Souls series. I can already hear the fanboys run into the comments section, so yes, the footage in this video is Dark Souls 3, not the original. But we work with what we got. And besides, one of the themes of Dark Souls is all about overcoming difficulties, so technically, this is appropriate. Eat it, fanboys, I win. Through item descriptions, environmental storytelling, and NPC dialogue, you learn that the state of the world has been artificially lengthened by reigniting the flame that keeps the world going. But the flame is going out again. Will you relight it, or let it burn out to usher in an age of darkness? There are dozens and dozens of themes and inspirations found in the Souls series of games. Dungeons & Dragons, medieval Europe, high fantasy, and the manga Berserk help to flesh out the world, while death and rebirth, duty, determinism, cooperation, and overcoming adversity drive the story. But I want to focus on some story elements that I don't think from ever intended to be in the game, but once you know about them, it's hard to ignore. So allow me to explain how the thoughts of a pre-Socratic philosopher from 500 BC are central to a 2011 action RPG developed in Japan. Yes, really. Let's set the stage. Who were the pre-Socratics? This is a term given to philosophers who did most of their work before Socrates. I hope to go into them in a future video, but for now, just know that the pre-Socratics were the Buddy Holly to Socrates' Beatles. They all generally had a few cool new ideas that they then tried to make everything fit into. Ideas that would eventually become serious topics of thought. Metaphysics, epistemology, ethics, politics. Heck, even the scientific idea that the universe is governed by testable laws can trace its origin to the pre-Socratics. And there's one pre-Soc in particular that I want to focus on. Heraclitus. Heraclitus was born in Ephesus in 535 BC. He is known as the Weeping Philosopher because he most likely suffered from depression. Dashboard confessional albums weren't widely available, so yeah, probably something to do with living in the 500s. He was also known as Heraclitus the Obscure because his writings aren't really straightforward. Yeah, see, that right there. What is that? Heraclitus thought that if you wanted to acquire knowledge and wisdom, you should work for it. Just giving you the answer won't cut it. He thought that there was a universal law or accord called the Logos, and that people should meditate about it to discover it. Wisdom comes not just from knowing a bunch of facts and skills, but understanding the Logos. Much learning did not teach understanding. He cannot explain the Logos, he can only tell you where to find it. But few people actually do the work to find out what the Logos is. They know neither how to learn or to speak. Let us not, about the greatest things, conjecture at random. I mentioned he was obscure, right? When it came to knowledge and understanding, his policy was, "Get good, scrub." Aside from the Logos, Heraclitus is known for two other big ideas. First is his idea of the unity of opposites. Heraclitus thought the world was full of opposing forces, ideas, properties, and entities. The road uphill and the road downhill are one and the same. The way up and the way down is one and the same. These opposites were in tension with each other, but also gave significance to one another. We know what cold is because we have been hot. We know what death is because we are alive. We know the Star Wars prequels are bad because the Orig-Tridge is good. We know Han shot first because Han shot first. Heraclitus taught that the world is a balance of strife and harmony. Not that these were opposing, warring forces, but that the balance struck by them is what animates the world. Couples are whole and not wholes. What agrees, disagrees. The concordant is discordant. From all things one, and from one all things. Again, the obscure. His second big idea springboards off the first. Everything is changing. Well, to be more precise, everything is constantly changing into something else. Everything flows and nothing stays. Heraclitus thought that everything was changing and flowing into something different. His most famous saying is, "It is impossible for a man to step in the same river twice, for it is not the same river, and he is not the same man." He really liked rivers, apparently. We like to think a river is just a river. The Mississippi is always the Mississippi. But waters are continuously flowing towards the sea. The banks and sandbars are always shifting. The waters are always changing, yet they keep their identity as the river. A mountain may look stable, but it's constantly rising even higher or being worn down by erosion. Once the sun comes up to start a new day, it is constantly progressing towards nighttime, which will constantly be progressing towards the next day. All of us like to think we're stable and consistent and always me, but come on, we're always changing, always becoming a newer person. We like to picture ourselves as Tom Cruise, a bankable star that is the same guy movie to movie. But we're all really Nicolas Cage, always shifting and changing from moment to moment. Embrace the Nick Cage, people. So now that we're thoroughly confused, this seems like a good time to bring Dark Souls back in. The first Dark Souls game starts with a description of the world. In the age of ancients, the world was unformed, shrouded by fog, a land of gray crags, arch trees, and everlasting dragons. So far so good, it's kind of like Seattle. But then there was fire, and with fire came disparity. Heat and cold, life and death, and of course, light and dark. There we go. So the world starts out as this boring, unchanging place. Nothing happened, nothing changed, nothing flowed. But then wham! Fire. And with fire, suddenly we have Heraclitean opposites. The everlasting dragons are killed by Gwyn and his allies, the Witch of Izalith, Grave Lord Nito, and Seath the Dragon. Gwyn establishes kingdoms, they probably build water parks or whatever, all that fun stuff. The fire can't last forever, and eventually fades. But soon, the flames will fade, and only darkness will remain. Even now, there are only embers, and man sees not light, but only endless night. Gwyn leaves his kingdom to extend the Age of Fire, and it's this artificial extension that corrupts and twists the land. He succeeds at rekindling the flame, but by unnaturally extending it, Gwyn causes the world to stagnate and decay. In the end, Gwyn turns out to be no better than the eternal dragons, wanting to keep the world as it is. You hit the scene when the fire is once again fading away. This is a really needy fire, you guys. And you are given a choice to refuel the fire or let it go out. The theme of things flowing is pretty obvious. It's literally how the world of Dark Souls functions. And the game goes to great lengths to show why preventing flow is a bad idea. Mindless undead creatures continue to guard doorways and buildings that crumbled long ago. The systems of society continue to limp along even as their purpose has long since vanished. The world has become as undead as the hollows you fight against. The theme of unity of opposites is a little harder to suss out. The creator and driving force behind Dark Souls, Hidetaka Miyazaki, gave a good place to start. The story is about a fire in the world, a symbol of both living and death. The fire is what brought death to Dark Souls' world, but also the only hope for life. Fire, from a distance, is harmless. Get closer, and it warms. Get too close, and it destroys. Opposites. The undead that you play is both alive and dead at the same time, able to be killed, constantly dying over and over, and brought back to life. Gwyn and his allies also represent opposites. The Witch of Izalith represents life. All of the demons of Lordran were created when she tried to recreate the first flame. Her counterpart is Gravelord Nito, who represents warm summer bedtime cuddles and puppies. He's death, okay? I shouldn't have to explain him. Just look at him! Gwyn represents loyalty. He demands his knights and servants obey his every command. His counterpart is Seath, a dragon who betrayed his own kind. I think you could even make a case that the difficulty of the game is a way to convey the idea of opposites to the player directly. The average number of deaths a player experiences per playthrough is between 200 and 600. 600 times of this! Ah! But all those deaths and failures are balanced out by the absolute sheer euphoria of finally taking down a boss. Dying over and over and over again to this insurmountable obstacle, only to finally beat it. To people who have never experienced that feeling of accomplishment, there are few things like it. And like the Logos, you can't describe it. You just have to experience it. As I mentioned before, I don't think From Software meant to put the ideas of Heraclitus into their game. I think Heraclitus was just observing the world around him, noticing the constant change and dichotomy in everything he saw. And I think From, in trying to make Dark Souls feel as real as they could, hit upon this observation as well. Together, Heraclitus and Dark Souls remind us of some bitter truths about our world. We can be sad that good things can't last forever, but comforted that neither do bad ones. The world is hard and full of difficulties, but by learning from mistakes and persevering, we can overcome them. Unite opposites, go with the flow, and always engage in jolly cooperation. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe and like if you want to see more. Check out more videos and streams on YouTube or Facebook by searching for Riff Arcade. We publish new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, plus a stream every Thursday. Thanks for watching. Play on, playa. Oh, come on!